these ideas, people see them, they like them. All of a sudden it becomes real. Someone asked me, is this real, about the Happy Meal? And I said, at this point, what's the difference?
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Jesse Nyberg podcast. Today we're here with Sam, known as Reeno. Just met him, super excited to chat. Talented artist and creative. How you doing, man?
I'm great. I'm honored to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. I'm glad you made the time and cleaned up your room for me and everything.
Of course.
So what have you kind of been up to this week? How's your week going?
Just working on RISD school assignments. You know, they're laying it on thick as they always do. Mm-hmm. And been working on some CAD modeling, some networking stuff, some business things, you know, various different things that we do.
Yeah. Yep. That's a perfect kind of segue because I wanted to ask you, I saw, I listened to your podcast a little bit with Sab, like the bit between or whatever, and you were talking to him about RISD because I was always familiar with the school and like, you know, it's a sought after school, especially as someone, you know, if you're in high school looking to get into design and whatnot. And you were talking about how stressful it was, but at the same time, you know, you're grateful for that because if it was easy, you wouldn't have learned all you have. But do you think like what did that teach you overall, like getting through those times where you were like almost breaking or drawing like 500 rocks, like you said?
It's just like I said in that interview, it made me see how far I could push myself, it made me see my potential.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like, do you think that even with like it being difficult that you would recommend anyone to deal with something like that rather than stuff being easy?
I would never recommend you to do stuff that's easy. Anybody watching, if you're trying to be great at something, then you should, you know, do the Kobe method and go to the court every day and, you know, make as many free throws as you can every day. You know, in any profession, artist, musician, whatever it is, get your reps in. And make yourself do things that you wouldn't normally do or that other people don't make themselves do. Where can you stand out rather than just trying to emulate other artists? Where can you stand out? And what can you learn that will put you into a different category or bring something new to the table like Virgil did, bringing architecture into fashion, just the same way as the book like Don Quixote is like one of the best-selling books of all time. And when it first dropped, it was just like every book at that time was dropping about, I believe it's like cowboys. Yeah. And it was a very, very static genre. It was just a cowboy hero story. But the author of Don Quixote switched it up a little bit, changed it like just a little percent to make it more of an interesting adventure. And just by changing something that already existed just a little bit, you can make something that really clicks. And that's what I'm doing here at RISD and what I've seen all of my inspirations do. So I'm trying to take a page out of their book.
Yeah, that's like you talked about Virgil and like the 3% thing. I think that is like a super effective way to like create something that someone will be able to like consume and like actually, you know, not be too crazy to where they don't even want to interact with it, but just enough. Like you did that, I would say with the shoes, right? So, you know, Babestead kind of did it with the Air Force Ones too. Like once you change something, there you go, visual reference. Once you change it too much, it's like people aren't going to be as comfortable purchasing something, but since they already know, oh, I like Air Force Ones, I could wear that. Like, that worked. What was your inspiration for creating that shoe? Did you just have that idea one day and saw it through?
I believe so. I think that's what happened. I just, I had the idea, I made it in Photoshop and I posted it. The mock-up was extremely realistic, so everyone already thought it was real, and it kind of went viral as a mock-up because I think people thought it was a real thing. And then once it got that attention, then I was like, all right, I'm going to make this in real life now, for real.
Yeah. Cause I saw people posting about it recently. Did you just pretty much got that all shipped out and everything in the last month?
Allegedly. I don't know if that's what happened.
Yeah. So someone was asking, I did the thing to see if anyone wanted to ask you anything. And I usually look through that stuff and kind of formulate different questions because it can get a little redundant with people saying things like, where do you get inspiration or whatever it may be. Right. But, someone asked something. So you stay very busy and it seems like you're pretty productive with your time, but do you feel like, relaxation for you is a necessary component to like stay productive?
So necessary. I try to relax. I try to do as little work as possible. Really. Mm-hmm. I mean, because I try to treat myself like I'm my own best friend, which is different than what I used to do, which is I basically treat myself like my enemy or like a tyrant over myself. So I'd be like, all right, you have a day. All right, you get a day of work. Like you're going to work all day. And then guess what? Like you go to sleep tomorrow, you're going to have to do another one and then another one, another one. At that point, what are you working for? Like I have friends that do that kind of work. And if I ask them about it, it's like, like, what about taking a break? They're like, well, I'm building my future. I'm like, you've been doing this for 4 years. When does your future come? So I try to like treat it how my best friend, if my best friend was like, yo, make me a to-do list, I'd be like, well, I really want to see you succeed. So I'm going to give you 5 hours of work. Not just work, very productive work that's going to take you, that you're going to have actual viewable results from. And then I want you to like spend the rest of the day watching a movie or chilling, eating, going to a party, spending time with friends. Personally, I have had the best results in my career from doing the most like non-standard things. So going to parties or like meeting some random person just from like having a random inspiration to go talk to them, or just going up, staying at a professor's office hours for a little bit longer. You might see those things as like, nah, you shouldn't waste your time with that. Like focus on the vision. It's like all of the other things that you'll do when you're on break will probably end up being more productive to what you're actually trying to do in the long run. It's not about doing what you think is best. It's about having a very, very secure and noble goal and doing whatever it is that you get the inspired action to do while you're on that path. Not what you think, but what you feel. And if you could trust that feeling, that's going to take you, that faith, I swear on everything, will take you so much farther than anything you could plan. Yeah.
That reminds me, I saw this like, I think it was a TikTok or a YouTube video the other day where it was like all the, like retire early, like tech bros. They were like, what are you doing right now? And they're like, oh, I'm grinding for my future. Like I'm just grinding every day so I can retire at 30. And they're like, what are you gonna do when you retire? And they're just like, grind. I don't know. Like, cause that's all they ever do. So yeah, like what are we working towards if we don't want the best part about, working as a creative or being an artist or working as a freelancer is that you get to create. Ideally, you want to do the coolest shit efficiently as possible with the least hours. That way you have more time to do, be a human and interact with the world. But people, I think, get so caught up, like they give up the 9-to-5 job and then they work more than they would have even at that. So it's an interesting kind of dynamic. And I think it's easy to get trapped in that. I know I've been a victim of that, being a tyrant to myself. As you said, I've, you feel guilty sometimes just because you didn't work, even if you didn't have anything necessarily good to work on, Yeah.
And it's not even about, like, I'm not saying don't work hard. Like, obviously that is an irreplaceable part of getting what you need to get or what you want to get. But I encourage people to every day that they do work to look back on it and reflect and say, all right, I worked for 6 hours today. What is done? Like, what is now different now that I put in that work? Oh, nothing. Okay, maybe it's time to try a different form of working. A lot of times we can simplify and add on to the way that we work in a way to make it much more productive, so that we can be busy for less time and delegate other tasks to better people than yourself at it. And just focusing basically on like the big wins of like, I need to get this, I need to trademark this today. Like I just need to trademark this today. And then I need to come up with a marketing plan for this or whatever it is, instead of just like, I need to work on my brand today for 5 hours. Like that's not specific enough, you know?
If it's broad, it's like, you can sometimes just work all day and never really you never really did anything. I have you read the Deep Work book?
No.
You know, Cal Newport. So he's this author, right? He's a kind of notorious like anti-tech author about productivity type dude. And he's this professor, and he came up with this idea of called like deep work, where like he realized that most people work, 8-10 hours a day, but it's very unproductive and dragged out, and they're always being distracted. But you can get everything done within like 4 or 5 hours if you actually get into this like flow state, and not, turn off your emails. And he came up with this idea that I really liked. It was called like, it's like a residual effect on your brain. So let's say you respond to an email and you're working, right? You may not think that that's a big deal, or even you just look at the email and you don't respond. That little effect in your head of you thinking, what am I going to say later? Like that's already hindering what your concentration was. So when you really want to work, you got to just get into that shit, and not be halfway in the door.
Yeah. I notice some days I wake up and I will do a few tasks before I go on my phone. And whenever I'm doing that, like the productivity and focus is at a different level, because I'm not thinking like just exactly what you just said. I'm not subconsciously thinking, oh, I got a text from this person, that's good. I got a text from this person, that's bad. It's just like, all right, I need to finish my task. And then when I'm done with the main thing I need to do, I'll use that when my brain doesn't require so much power.
Right. That's when it's good to, so I like to figure out, for me, my most like energy is like more important than time, So for me, my most energy efficient time is like 10 to 2, somewhere in there. My body is very productive in that time zone. So I try not to give that time to like meaningless tasks, because I can do those meaningless tasks at like 8 p.m. even if I wanted to when I'm tired. So it's good because for some people that may be at night or whatever, but it's good to figure out your nice little chunk that you can get the most stuff done. So another thing I wanted to ask you that I was kind of interested in is hearing you talk in this other interview about when you were at RISD and you were eating more unhealthy than you would like, and you were feeling a little bit more less confident and maybe like self-conscious or whatever it may be. And I found that surprising, because I think you come off as a very confident and like almost the other side of the spectrum, like over like this, you kind of have the Kanye-esque like radical belief in yourself, And I'm curious, has that emotion ever, stopped being helpful and got in your way? Like you became too confident in something?
No. Because it's just a belief in myself. And a belief in myself comes with nuance, knowing that not only can I fail, I know I will fail, and I welcome failure. So I've never gone into a drop and just thought like, oh, this is going to sell like crazy. I go into every drop thinking like, all right, no one cares about what I have going on. How do I make them care? And because it's true, no one cares if you're watching this, what you do. No one. What you do. No one is trying to really keep up with that. unless you're really putting something into it that's making their time worth it. And I really value everybody's time because I hate when my time's wasted. I know how valuable my own time is. So if I'm going to hit you with a drop, I'm not trying to waste your time on some BS. I'm going to make it, like if I go into music, it's going to be the best album. Like it's going to be the best thing that my entire like being is capable of. And that's the same thing for a drop. And that's why you've seen I haven't dropped in 2 years. It's not because I can't. I could force out a drop while I'm at RISD, but I'm not going to do that to you. I'm not going to do that to the world because enough people already do that. And there's enough bad design out there, you know, in terms of Instagram, in terms of the whole entire world. Look around you. Go to like a plaza. You'll see like a million things you don't like. At least I do. And so it's not really, I have an unwavering belief in myself because I have an unwavering belief in everybody. And that comes with understanding that there's going to be tons and tons of pitfalls, and I welcome those. And I've talked about it before. It's like, let me fail. Let me mess up in front of everybody so everyone can see that you can do that and you can still continue walking. You could continue to be here and you could still make it after that. And I've already fallen, you know, a couple times, and people are going to have seen and will continue to see that it's not stopping anything.
Yeah. And that's good. I respect that answer. And it's funny because, you know, I find this like hypocritical from like an audience standpoint. So many people say, go talk to that person, take that risk, do that thing you never like, you know, never wanted to like try or whatever. And then you do it and let's say it's bad. Then those people say, you're an idiot. Like, why would you do that? But like they only want to be around when it worked out. Then they're like, see, man, he's a fucking, you know, you're an idiot until you're a genius. That's like the way a lot of people look at things.
Exactly. Like everyone hates PC culture, right? Everyone will say like, oh my God, it's like the censorship is so bad until somebody says something that you don't personally agree with or you don't like. And then, oh my God, this person is horrible. It's like, pick one, but you know they're never going to pick one. It's always going to be
right.
And that's, you know.
I have some friends and what's the lower word of that? Not accomplices, acquaintances that are very, you know, on the far spectrum of PC culture and whatnot. And cool, do your thing. But sometimes I see something happens, that is a little too close to like what they're about. And then you all of a sudden you hear them say, nah, don't cancel that person. Like, I like them, you know? And I'm like, see, like, you got to put yourself into other people's shoes because it's easy to shit on the person. You have no idea who they are.
Yeah. I always think of like this analogy I heard one time is like, it's easy to be like the buff guy at the gym that sees somebody who's just starting out and like kind of laugh at them. But what happens when you want to start, you know, you're that buff guy and you want to start comedy or something? You're going to go on stage and you're going to be petrified because you know that there's mad other people like that in the audience. And, you know, recently I've thought about like what judging people does in terms of me, because I do it. I fall short of that and I know I shouldn't. But, you know, it can have bad effects on yourself, much more on yourself than the person. They might never find out about it, but how you view yourself, it all connects. So,
well, that's like that. I think it's like a quote. It's like jealousy is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to get sick, or something like that. Right. It's kind of that vibe.
So with the confidence you see me have is like, I always try to treat me and other people the same way. So if I was self-conscious, then that would say something bad about you. Like that would mean if I don't believe in myself, why would I believe in you? You know what I mean? If we can all at the end of the day like succeed in what we're trying to do, and I believe everybody could get to that point. So it's just inward outward type of vibe. Yeah,
that's good. So recently I was checking out the thing you did, the happy meal, the Kanye like blacked out thing, and I was curious, what's your process like when something, because this is something that is a you know, it's not you're not paying for this an ad or anything on these things, but it's almost like you're hijacking like a moment that, and you're getting this reach because it's something going on. This same Happy Meal, like no one would have gave a fuck about it. Like not in the design sense, it's good, but it wouldn't have had the same impact, 3 months ago or whatever, right? So when you see something going on, how do you know to like capitalize on it or like want to be part of the conversation?
I typically try to be very, very hesitant to do that because so often it can just come across as fan art, and that's not what I'm going for. It's like a fan artist or like somebody that just draws these rappers. It's to bring something new to the conversation, just to make like something that can make someone smile. You just draw a rapper, it's like, all right, like, yeah, I saw the picture too. But trying to bring a new element to that, like, Kanye has a Super Bowl appearance for 15 seconds, and it's just like, all right, what can we do with that? And Raki is actually the one that brought that idea to me. I wasn't going to do anything with it, and I typically try not to do anything at all, like I said, especially while I'm at RISD, unless it's a good enough idea. And he told me his idea for the McDonald's box with the house, and then I was just like, okay, I know exactly what we got to do. So we got to do like the nuggets and the French fries and all this. And I had all these ideas, like stem player toy. And then this is how we're going to show it. And this is how we'll present it. And this is how we'll market it. And for some reason, certain things just trigger that in my brain. And I just know what to do. It's like, that's like the inspired action, the faith that I was talking about before. You got to trust it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's almost like what you said about not wanting to be a fan art. It's almost just as important to know when to do the Happy Meal as it is to when to not do the other thing that was popular. Exactly.
Yeah, it's got to be something that you really know, not just like maybe, but know that you can bring something cool to the table with it. Otherwise, you want to make something to where people can look at it and not even see who made it and know you made it.
Yeah. I really like that concept because the other meals that they do, like actually, Travis Scott, J Balvin or whatever, like the Travis Scott one, kind of cool. Like they kind of had an art direction with it. They made it feel like this kind of different little like campaign, but like each one they made after that, it just seemed like they were like, hey, here's a celebrity. What do you like to eat here? Here's the thing. Like they didn't even there was no like different colored box for like J Balvin or whatever, right? So like I wish if a brand's gonna completely use like the namesake of a person, like at least give it a little bit more personality,
Yeah.
But I mean, what are you, it's McDonald's, I mean, you can't really put too much weight on it. Next thing that I wanted to add,
but we should, because
maybe we should.
It's a multi-billion-dollar company. It should be the most easy for them. And
I guess it's not a matter of they have the resources. It's just frustrating that they don't.
Right. And I just made that box for no money. A 20-year-old design student, and I have a very strong feeling that they could have. They definitely could have hit my line, but they could have found somebody to do something cool for whatever.
I'm sure that shit's on a mood board somewhere going to someone that's not you.
Well, I'm sure it is. Yeah, but we gotta hold these corporations accountable for their art because they're the ones that are making the world either more beautiful or slightly less.
I wanted to ask you so your name's Sam Mazzarino, is that your full name? So I guess, is that just the inspiration behind the name, cutting off the end piece and making it into like a more phonetic spelling?
That's a pretty good way to say it. Yes.
Okay. Because I'm always curious, it's interesting because choosing a name to identify your brand or you as an individual with is so important, but it's also something that's so like not important at the same time. Like you're just like, most people I know, I say, how did you, why are you this? They go, oh, I just chose that on Instagram. And like, now that's just me forever. And it's an interesting thing because before social media, I don't know if I would have Or like if I were you and I was in, 1960, I don't know if I would have been like, oh yeah, but call me Reeno, you know?
Yeah. It's the same way Jay-Z can just go into the booth and just come up with something that will, for 20 years, carry weight. But he just literally came up with it. A lot of it as artists just has to be like an extension of ourselves. I think that thinking gets in the way a lot of the times for artists. So I try, even though, I mean, that's hypocritical. I spent like 3 or 4 pages just trying to come up with a name. But you got to go with what you feel.
I remember now. So I wanted to ask you, you said being hesitant of being a fan artist. I've talked to someone else about this, and I think that's an important thing to think about because when you're creating something that's maybe fan art, or, you're making a collage or remixing something from like a photo shoot or whatever, right? You're gaining this short-term gratification and success in this moment that you're being a part of. But I think in the long term, it's bad, because if I'm, Kanye, right? Or I'm Drake or whoever, and someone's making fan art and I really like it and they made that for me and it's super cool, how am I going to be able to charge them the next time when I'm already making stuff for them for free,
By charging them.
You don't think that would make the person not feel like, I don't know, a respect in the way of like paying you if you're already doing that stuff?
Getting paid is not a matter of respect. It's a matter of, I got to eat. I don't think it should play a part.
Yeah.
If you're making fan art of somebody, then it would be very unnoble. I'd say that person to say, oh, wow, look at this person making me free work. Let me hire them and then not pay them because they made me an Instagram post. Like, you got to pay.
Yeah. I guess I'm just kind of looking at it more nefariously, because I've seen, you see a lot of bad shit in the way people are treated online. So you almost think that that's like the standard now.
It would happen. Like what you're saying would probably happen, but shouldn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What got you interested in pivoting a little bit in terms of selling the digital like assets, like the mock-ups and things? What made you want to get into that?
It was selling really well. People were expressing that it was really helping them. I just kind of put it on my site as an open idea. Like, here's this thing I made. Let me know if you guys like it. And it ended up being like my most best-selling product that I've ever done. And people still message me. People buy it every day and they message me every day and just like send me nice messages saying like, your pack helped me break into like beginning my clothing brand. Even if it seems insignificant, it's just a t-shirt template. I really do get those messages. And people say like, no one ever taught me Photoshop. No one ever explained any of this to me. I didn't know how to get started at all. And just, for $10, I could make some t-shirts and at least post them and see, what people think and stuff. And I really admire Virgil for opening so many doors while he was here and creating so much greatness, but at the same time, creating a world where the next generation of makers can step through that door. And I want to do the same thing. Specifically, I mean, I'm an industrial designer, so it's in our nature as industrial designers to make things better, make things more accessible and affordable, and make them, with the best materials. Not that there's no materials here, but making everything that exists in fashion more accessible, lowering the gatekeeping, allowing more people to see their visions through faster. Doing the things that would have saved young Sam time, I'm going to do that for the next Sam or the next kid, whoever that is, or Samantha, whoever it might be.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, there's a lot of power to even those digital things. Like you said, when you mocked up the Air Force One, like concept, that, that gave you the whether how confident you were or not, that gave you like the validity and like, oh, people like fuck with this. Now I don't have to buy all the materials and I already tested the waters, you know?
It all starts with digital. You know, if you're creative, you don't have to spend any money. You can crack Photoshop off the record. In a video game world,
Yeah, allegedly.
in an alternate universe, maybe you could crack Photoshop in an alternate universe where it's legal, and then you can make all of your designs, post them, see how people feel, test the waters, wait till you get a hit. I mean, it shouldn't be that long, you know, be creative. And once you got a hit, then do that. There's nothing real about the McDonald's Kanye meal. It's all digital, digitally made collage. And then the painting is also a digital painting, 0 cost. And some news sources were posting it as if it was actually real. If it was actually happening, like who's going to go get the Donda meal? And that's really? And that's how things actually end up happening. That's how you get that email from McDonald's saying, "Hey, we saw your concept. We actually think it's really cool. Would you want to work on the creative for this?" And I've gotten stuff like that before. You know, whether it's with Billie Eilish or Playboi Carti or Travis Scott, like these different things, just from me putting out like these ideas, people see them, they like them. All of a sudden it becomes real. Someone asked me, is this real about the Happy Meal? And I said, at this point, what's the difference?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the biggest brands in the world, they don't even go through the trouble of printing a sample tee to post on their website these days, you know? It's just I would even say like subpar mock-up, you know? It's just a square shirt with the JPEG or PNG overlaid on it. And what I was curious is, so the t-shirts and hoodies and clothing mock-ups, other than album art or maybe a poster mock-up in an environment, definitely one of the most used things for like designers in terms of mocking things up. Do you think you being able to sell that at this point comes down to like people wanting to get it from you, since so many people do that now?
We have the best ones. Like, they're just the most accessible, best quality. And when I say most accessible, it's not a PSD file. It's a PNG. So you can have MS Paint and use these mock-ups. You can just drag it into whatever program you got. So they're just the most accessible. We have the best, you know, like marketing. We have the best also user base behind it. Like literally people, Dennis Rodman, Kevin Abstract, Justin Bieber, Tekka, The Weeknd, all these people, Trippie Redd, have all used it. And then Joe Schmo designer with 4 followers has also used it and loved it. And, you know, so we're touching all angles here. So you're going to go with the one that, you know, you understand the best, makes sense because it's a newer product. And we were also the first to popularize it in this scene. And yeah, like you said, it's just the ethos behind it is also something that people can get behind too.
Is we a you?
Yeah. And now there's a whole team of people that work on the mock-up packs with me as well as anything coming out of Reeno. But at first it was really just me with a bunch of t-shirts and a green tablecloth laid out on the floor.
Okay. Do you think it's beneficial for, let's say I'm a young designer, right? And I want to get your take on this because I've went back and forth on this idea. Let's say I'm this young designer, I'm just starting out and I want to be, what do we got around here? Turbo Studios, right? That's my like moniker. And do you think it's beneficial for me to call myself a studio or studios or collective or whatever, even when it's just myself, because you're planning on expanding? Or do you think it's better to, when you're yourself, just be yourself? Because it's almost like, oh damn, he's doing that all by himself. What approach do you think is more efficient for like someone starting out?
The advice I would give is to live in your own fantasy world. If you're an artist, don't do this if you're a doctor or a surgeon. If you're an artist, live in your own fantasy world. And whatever the name of your brand would be in that fantasy world, name it that. Studios. Do I have a studio around me right now? In the third dimension, No, but that's not how I see it. And that's what's being built. And that's what I always saw. And I actually got that from Max Fleischer's studios, who is one of the most popular 1950s artists. He made like Betty Boop and some of those type of things. And there was another one. Well, look him up. Look him up. He's really cool, and his art is amazing. He's one of my first inspirations. And I saw he had like Fleischer Studios, and I was like, that's what I'm gonna have, is a studio. So I picked that. So if you see in your head an entire, you should name it Turbo Country. If you see it's a country in your head, for all I can. I mean, but stand behind it. Don't say like confidential.la and you're from New York, and when I ask you about it, you're like, oh, well, it sounded cool. It's like, you know, have a reason. You could do whatever you want. Just have some kind of a reason, even if that reason is just I felt like it. But stand behind it and say it with your chest.
Yeah. That's good. The Max Fleischer dude just did a quick little recon on it. I love that clown like character. I always see they'll throw that little animation of him walking like dancing down the street or whatever. That shit's badass. It's crazy some of that stuff being created, how long ago it was. So another thing I wanted to ask you is, you're, I think, pretty unique to me as a designer and artist and industrial designer and all these things, because I think your conceptual skills are up to par with people I know that are really good at coming up with concepts, and you have a nice illustration style that I think can work in a lot of different situations. And you also have skills in, traditional, whatever you want to call it, like graphic design, right? Layout, typography and things. And I feel like it's a little bit rare these days to be that well versed. And I'm not trying to like hype you up that much, but it's just an observation, right? And yeah. And I'm just curious, with that being said, what do you think out of these things that you feel you're creative in is your strongest and weakest like skill set?
My strongest skill set is just creativity itself. Like, it could be anything. If you want me to come up with a storyboard for a music video, I got it. The ideas are all that matters. If I have an idea for a painting, I'll learn how to get good enough at painting to make that idea that night. I mean, like the Van Gogh, Kanye Room Van Gogh piece that went pretty viral. That was made on Procreate, and I never used Procreate before. I had the idea, and I was like, it's not going to make sense if it's drawn. It needs to be painted. I just, I was like, yo, Simon. I got Simon Zylstra. I was in LA, and I went to his house. I was like, bro, show me how to use Procreate. I need to make this right now. And he showed me, and like, so the idea is the actual creativity supersedes any medium, or I don't even think in terms of that. It's just like, all right, you have a music video. All right, I need two huge robots that are like dapping each other up or whatever. Or like, I need a narrator. It could be a million different things. So I don't box myself in terms of any type of label like that. That's why I chose industrial design, is because like, it's just another skill set that I'm not aware of, that one day I'll have an idea where I need to understand how gears work and how to make a shoe in CAD or whatever it might be. But yeah, I'd say that.
And then I guess what would you say is something that you would like to get stronger at?
Music. Anything visual, I'm pretty good there. I'm still obviously have tons and tons and tons to learn, but I'd really like to learn how to make beats and how to record music. And I will. Okay.
That's cool. I like what you said about the idea of doing the industrial design as like a almost prerequisite for that way when the inspiration comes, you're not going to be able to just go and grab Procreate to build a fucking car or whatever it may be, but it reminded me of, do you know who Mona Thomas is? She's this super talented like designer. She does clothing, jewelry. She has this brand called Huni, and it's like super dope, right? And I talked to her and I was asking what made her want to build like jewelry and things, and her explanation was similar as, well, this is all the scale I can build at now. Like I want to build buildings and cars and cities, but like can only afford to build with like acrylic and things like that at the moment. But I think it's good to always look into the big picture and further out, because, you know, a lot of people may be happy with what you've already done. That may be like their epitome of like success or their peak. But I think staying hungry and like knowing that there's more out there than what you've already done is always, it may not be the exactly best for your mental health, but I think it's good for your overall existence to like kind of have that chip on your shoulder and want to learn.
And I think it's a great practice for all creatives to just sit down with another extremely open-minded friend or with yourself and just start thinking of ideas of what you would do if literally nothing was off the table. If you had all the money in the world or could get all the money in the world, just what would you make? What city would you build? A city? Would you become the president? What would you do if nothing at all was off the table? And see where your mind goes. And maybe you're like, honestly, I'd probably still just have a job and like I'd just take care of my family. But it's good to think about. Because maybe you'll be like, oh wow, I never thought about that. I want to go do this. And maybe I actually could make that happen beyond just my fantasy. Make it real.
Yeah, and I like, you know, what you said about it's also fine to do that exercise and realize like, oh, I want to be an art director, or I want to be a studio musician, or whatever, like some certain level that you stop at is, as long as you know that that is fine, then you're good. But you never want to be living in that zone and thinking like, damn, like, you know, I wanted to whatever, fucking be the president or whatever the example is. You kind of answered it a little bit, because you said you want to have the skills set in industrial design when you get to that bridge. But what is another thing that drawed you to that like discipline? Why'd you choose to study that? I guess more from like a bird's eye perspective.
In my head, there were a few possible choices: graphic design, fashion, industrial design. You know, and then there's like painting and illustration, which I wasn't even gonna really consider. And there's some other ones, but those are the main ones I was thinking about. Graphic design, already good at that. I've already made things that people love, and I've shown promise. And anything that I don't already know, I don't need to take 3 years of college like out of my life to learn. I'll be able to learn it. Fashion is boring. I figure if I study fashion at a school like this, I know I could learn everything, but I just thought, what if I learn something that's the opposite kind of what I'm already doing, so that I could, again, bring that back.
Yeah.
And I saw all my friends that were doing stuff in ID, and ID is also extremely broad. Like they'll have you making models, and then you're making 3D models, and then you're just coming up with ideas, and then now you're designing the aesthetics of it. Okay, now you're designing the physics of it, and now it's the gears. How are they turning? How are they creating a mechanism to make 2 levers go up and down? All right, now I just had an idea to make a dress where the dress, you know, comes all the way up and creates a force field and then goes down and makes a dress. Like, it's just so much less of a box, and that's what I'm about. So don't get me wrong. I'm doing all of my own independent studies to learn everything I can about fashion. And I'm in a fashion class right now. I'm going to, you know, I'm befriending all the fashion kids and making sure I know exactly what are you learning, so I can, you know, steal your major and do it for me, but not have to pay the double major fee. And the same thing for graphic designers, and the same thing for the architects. So while I'm here, I'm getting as much as I could possibly suck from the school. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to use that opportunity to its fullest. And I agree with the I don't know if I would say when I was in school, I don't think I would have been not necessarily confident, but the reality of my skill set in school was not to the point of, I don't need to be here for design or graphic design. I already got it figured out. That was not the status of myself as a creative. However, all the stuff that matters to me now and that I work on and that I've learned was not at the school. Like, if anything, the most important thing I got from what I learned in graphic design school was being disappointed with what they were learning and having to seek it out, or with what they were teaching and having to seek it out myself. So I think that's a good mindset to have. Like, I almost wish, I did like computer science or something else that interests me instead, because it's more of a practical thing that like would be a lot. I don't think I'd have the patience to just teach myself how to code every day for fun. But if I was at school, I definitely would have completed that degree. Versus design, I'm always learning new shit. I'm always researching. I'm always trying to get better. So I think that's something to think about for young people like planning to go to school is, I don't know, like graphic design's pretty subjective in a sense for being design. So you may want to, it wouldn't hurt, I think, to pursue either like a double major or something else in general.
And it's also just, there's too much art and so much of it is just redundant. It's art about art. It's like, I know a lot of artist friends that, they'll kind of just sit and sit in a room and make art and not go out and do too much. And it's like, your life, no judgment, but your life isn't really interesting. What are you making art about? And so I think that artists should strive to have the most interesting life possible so that when you do make something, it can be great. I mean, that's why I like Kanye so much. Not necessarily that I like his person or agree with everything that he does, but his life is so interesting. It's so crazy, like it's so wild, marrying like the most successful or I guess most famous woman on earth, becoming a billionaire with your own fashion company, even though everyone called you a rapper, becoming a rapper, even though everyone said you were a producer. It's just, that's an interesting story that some people can relate to, or at the very least find interesting. And it's like, a lot of these people are just making stuff, and it's just like, all right, but who really needed your perspective, or what are you bringing to the table that's new? Like Virgil has an awesome perspective too. And think about I could promise you, everything that you like, think about how it's a combination. Like, why do people like Donda? It's a combination between heavenly gospel and dark aesthetic. My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy is like regal royal mixed with apologetic and self-reflective. And all of these albums, like Good Kid, Mad City, has a lot of like very upbeat, jazzy songs about very, very dark topics. And, bring the dichotomy. So go to different parties, go to things that terrify you or things that you think will just be weird, and just go do weird stuff with your friends. That'll give you a different perspective. At least watch movies about that kind of thing if you're not going to go do it. But I think, to me personally, in my life, I wouldn't listen to myself or view what I do as cool unless I was doing that. So I make sure to do that to give other people the entertainment value that I know they want to see.
Yeah, I agree with that. It kind of goes back to what we were saying at the beginning about giving yourself time to relax, but also giving yourself time to experience, because like all art is, all art is drawing from your own personal experiences and trying to visualize that. And I think I remember hearing you say how, the bad things that happened to you became like this, arsenal or whatever, a bag of pain that you can pull out of or siphon when you need like some kind of inspiration. And man, I couldn't agree more, because when for example, or in 2020, my mom passed away, right? Super traumatic thing, very sad. Right. And I know so many people that would have been the derailing catalyst in their mindset or career. And whether this was a good way to cope with it or not, that point on, it was like, I'm not even going to think about that. It happened and it is what it is, and I process it in different ways, but it almost pushed me to like another level of like discipline and working. Cause I was like, damn, like what am I even going to do if that could happen to me, you know, and whatnot. And it's crazy because it's so easy to, I almost feel like this may not be super sensitive of me, but I almost feel like sometimes bad things happen to people and they're kind of like, now I can use this as like a thing to not do stuff, you know, like, oh, this bad thing happened. Now I can chill for a bit because like I'm sad or whatever. But I think those are the best times to use that because, yeah, like you said, it, I believe pain is the strongest emotion, and it's something that's, I mean, if not that, then love, but they're both so powerful, and those are the best things to pull from.
Well, the thing is, they're both inescapable. And I know so many people that try to get the most love and try to run from pain as much as possible. Like, I have a friend that tries not to get into a relationship, even though he likes, you know, certain girls or certain people, because he's afraid that he'll have to go through a heartbreak. And, I'm like, you can't run from that forever. Like, you should welcome the pain as much as the love. Like, they're the same thing. They're just reflections of one another because they both make you feel as deeply as the other thing. And those are both the main emotions that you'll be able to, they're really the only two emotions you'll be able to draw from. And me personally, I love feeling things. It reminds me like how human I am, and being humbled and like being nervous or being scared and doing it anyway, or whatever it might be that brings me back into the moment, even if it's really bad. And the more emotional things I can go through, I'm like to that guy, I'm like, yo, bro, just go talk to that girl. Like, let her break your heart. Like, you know what I mean? Or it'll probably go great, but step into the fire, like jump off the cliff and at least see what happens. Like, you're going to die. Like, it's going to be over one day. It's just way more fun. I'm all about fun. Just try it. See what happens. A lot of times you get surprised.
And those strong emotions like love and pain, it's like, for now, those are the only things that separate us from the machines. You know, if we're not going to use that to our advantage, I know a lot of machines that could do things better than humans can do, you know, so we got to keep that edge while we still have it. I mean, yeah, I definitely don't recommend, like running from that stuff. So I have a few last things I wanted to ask you. One being, what have been your most rewarding client and personal projects? Like if you had to choose one from each avenue.
Personal project is easily I Walk This Earth. It was a very cathartic thing for me to make. It was, and I think I talk about it in the other interview, but it's just, it was made at a time in my life where I needed it. Like, it saved me, like to be able to pour myself into creating after a time where that was taken away from me. Like, I was creating, but it was in school and it was controlled. And after such like a kind of hard year for me, to be able to go back in and just unfiltered create what I wanted to make, what I felt, and what God like brought out of me to make. Just, I can't even explain what that did, like how much that helped me. And the pieces themselves is like the coolest clothes that I've made still, even though it was over a year ago. And it'll come out. Don't worry. You know, everyone's going to see this. It's going to come out, and I'll keep talking about it. But that was the most rewarding. And as far as client, that's a good question, man. I had this one client that would always commission me when I had just started, and her name is Morgan Justice, and she is a singer, a musician, and I would like to shout out to Morgan Justice for giving me the first money that I really ever made from art. I had a few commissions before that, but she would consistently commission me for album covers and various art that, looking back, not that great, but thank you for taking the chance on me. And I appreciate how much care you treated that with. And I don't know that that'll ever be possible again, because now I'm where I am and I was not. And, you know, I don't know how you could help me more than that. So shouts out to Morgan Justice and the team.
Yeah.
Go stream her stuff.
Yeah. For sure. I feel that there's some early people I worked with, and not only the earlies or the first or the friends or the people I knew, but I look back on some of the first ones where I felt like, oh shit, like $500 or like, you know, whatever the amount is, anything above something that you're embarrassed to say, you know, maybe not we all, but I've worked on shit. I'm like, Jesus Christ, like you would have been better off doing like Uber Eats for an hour than spending that much work on that for that little money. But when you first get that little bit of money on like a nice little project, yeah, you can never replicate that, because everything changes with time and like the scale of things and the relevance. That may be small to someone now, but at the time it's like, that's crazy. And it's good to look back and be grateful, because once you do something for a, you know, more price or a different caliber of work, it's like, all right, that's the new floor, you know, that's the new standard. That's where we're at now. So it's hard to, each way you have to keep raising your expectations. And it reminds me of, I heard that, you know, that dude, Dan Bilzerian.
Yeah.
He does all that whatever he does.
That guy.
Yeah. I remember hearing him talk about how when he was young, he got a, you know, new Camry and he was like 10 out of 10 happy. Now he can get 20 Lambos and that's still like 7 out of 10, because his life's so elevated that you keep raising the bar. But so don't be like that. I'm not recommending that. It's good to look back and be like, damn, you know, look where we're at now.
Yeah. And that's the other thing that is, our goalposts are always going to move. Don't get caught in the hamster wheel of letting the carrot dangle in front of your face and chasing it until you die. You're never going to achieve something that's going to be like, I got this, now I'm happy. It'll never happen.
Right.
And we all know that. But sit back and think, like, do you feel like you're enough right now? And I think that a lot of people feel like, I'm great, but I'm not enough. Once I get this, then I'll be enough. You got to accept right now that you're 100% complete with everything, because there's always going to be, you know, as soon as you get a Lambo, then it's 10 Lambos that you want. Then it's a yacht, you know. So just be very conscious that the goalposts are never going to stop. And as hard as it might seem, just sit back and be like, you know what? I'm all right. Like, I'm content. Yeah. Life is good. I have everything I need. Maybe that doesn't apply to every single person, but a lot of people are less grateful than we could be. And it's a process. Yeah. And another person I would really love to shout out is Will from Hard Jewelry, because like when I first started working for Will, first of all, Will is like such an amazingly nice guy. And he's so dedicated to the community and actually like helping to put people on and cares about his own brand and making it cool and making it something that people will enjoy, the ethos around. And he was one of the first people to commission me too. And when he first did it, I was starstruck and I was just like, oh my God, this is crazy. Like, this is such a huge brand. I was showing all my friends in class and everything. I was like, look, this brand wants me to make a profile picture of him. And I still work with Will, and he has been like so understanding of the fact that my prices have gone up. And that's something that's just real. Like, that's real love. And a lot of people will be like, yo, bro, what happened? You charged me 500, now it's 700.
Everyone wants to be grandfathered into some kind of locked fixed rate, you know?
It's like, yo, bro, it's not about you. it makes it makes more sense for me to not do this commission at all. So if I'm gonna do it, then I have to get paid this much. Otherwise, let's just be friends and go get tea. Like, you know, we could skip the commission entirely. But Will has completely understood that from me, and that takes a lot of character.
That's
and
good.
I really appreciate him for that. And he's just a great friend to me. So shout out
There's
Will.
this weird
Chain.
Shout out Will. There's this weird power shift I see happen with myself and clients and other people and other clients where no matter who you are, there's a point in your time where you're starting out and the dynamic between you and the client can maybe feel more they're helping you out, it's your family member, it's whatever. They're like, oh, yeah. Hey, you need some money? Like, come design this, you doing that art stuff or whatever, like come design this little drawing or this poster for my church or whatever it may be. And then they come around 2 years later, they don't see what you've been doing.
Yeah.
Hey, you still doing those pictures or whatever people want to call it with their different jargon.
Right.
And then you say, yeah, this is it. Whoa, like, remember I did it. I paid you when you were just starting. And it's like, okay, you're supposed to do that. That's not like, you don't deserve me forever just because you were one of the first people to give me work. In the end of the day, I was doing a service for you still, however it looked in your mind. So I think it's important everything goes up. Look at the price of everything. You think that if clients or if designers kept their prices the way that gas is, we'd still be paying like 30 cents a gallon. So in a perfect world, if you're living in 2032, Sam now, how would you like your life to look at that point?
I feel like to even begin processing what my version of that would be is like a slap in the face to God in a way. I just try to not plan. It's one of the few things, actually it's one of everything that he's better than me at. Mm-hmm. I always try to plan things and then he'll come up with something better. So at this point I've learned the best thing is to just keep myself as open as possible and let him take me wherever it's going to go. And he could literally tell me to do a complete 180 and put down the pencil forever and pick up the sponge and go start cleaning bathrooms in like a local restaurant again, just like he did in 2018. And if that's what he wants me to do and go back to Basilicos and go start cleaning the bathrooms again, I'm gonna hit up my boss and say, hey, I need a job again. Whatever he wants me to do, I'm completely open to that. So if you see, if you look back in 2032, that's the year you said, mm-hmm. and I made it, just know that's all God. It's and I trust where he's going to take me, and I have my own goals and I share those. But at the end of the day, it's up to him if that fits with his vision or not. At this point, I made it to what I wanted to do. All I said that I wanted to do is make a living off my art. I did that. I worked with all the artists I wanted to. Now I'm at my dream school. I did everything else that I wanted to personally in my life when I was a 16-year-old. I am the person that the 16-year-old Sam wished and dreamed that he could become. Mm-hmm. And now all my concern is giving back to the world and making the most and only expressing gratitude for being here. Not just taking it for granted and just being like, yeah, I'm the shit. Now I can just do whatever I want. Nah, I don't want to do anything I want. I want to do everything that he wants me to do. And by doing that, somehow in some paradoxical way, it makes me the happiest. And it tends to have the best effect on those in my life. And and I think that that's awesome. And I think that it goes to show how great the design of life is, life itself. Like, God is my favorite designer. Like, he's my biggest design inspiration, because like down to the way that our inner systems work, up to the fact that I'm speaking to you right now in an intelligent way from books that I've read. It's like, how is that even possible? Like, I have two arms and like my head, and it's just like, how is this even possible? This doesn't even make any sense. So I meditate every day. and I bring myself to this mental plane of just non-think and just existence. Otherwise, I'll think myself into a million traps and negative situations. And just from that non-think state, I'll get some kind of idea. Hey, reach out to this person you haven't talked to in 2 years. Really? That person? Like, that doesn't feel right. And then he'll make me think again, and he'll be like, yeah, but what about this? What about this lesson? And I'll be like, oh, that doesn't make sense. All right, I'm going to talk to them. I talk to them. They end up knowing somebody else that connects me to someone else or whatever. Maybe they just get inspired from me calling them and they think like, oh, that's cool that he reached out, and they have a better day because of it. Like whatever it is, day to day, year to year, decade to decade, lifetime, I'm here for all of it. And I'm, my fear is to the side. My pride is to the side. I'm here to make your life better. Everyone who's watching this, make your life better. And I'm constantly open to criticism and feedback. And I'm just here to do the best that I can and take the torch from all of my inspirations and all the lessons from those that I love and those that inspire me and give back to that.
Beautiful. I appreciate the thoughtful answer, and thank you everyone for listening. You can check out Sam's stuff on Instagram, Reeno Stus, or Reeno Stus, however you want to be saying that. And is there anything else you want to plug, shout out before we get out of here?
If you want to design clothes, just go to my website and just check it out. Just take a stroll on reenostudios.com. See how you feel about it. If you like what I said, then go to my YouTube channel and maybe you'll like other words that I say. If you like art or you want to see what kind of art I'm making, unless you already came from that, then go to my Instagram and my Twitter. And, if you made it to the end of this interview, then you should hit me with the code word. We'll make the code word this time. We'll make it palette. I like that word, palette. So figure out how to spell that and then send that to me so that we can talk about the interview. And anyone who supports me, bro, thank you. Thank you. It really means the world. Like, I genuinely, like, seriously, it really means the world. And I wouldn't be here at all. I wouldn't be having this conversation. I wouldn't be probably even at the school that I'm at without everyone's kind words and encouragement. So much love to anybody who supports anybody, especially me. And thank you so much for having me on this show. Again, it's truly an honor, and I enjoyed our conversation. So,
yep, beautiful. And likewise, thank you for coming on, and hope you enjoyed this. Hit the man with the keyword, and we'll see you next time. Peace out.